challenges and successes, hardship and joy, pain and blessings. The dichotomies of life, right? We eagerly embrace successes, joys, and blessings, yet we become frustrated when challenges, hardship, and pain intersect our lives. But what if the tough times of life are just cleverly disguised opportunities to grow? Resilience, strength, wisdom, courage, and grit are grown when we embrace and choose to learn from those challenging times of life. I invite you to tune your ear to the lessons and insights my guests gained when they fought to overcome the tough times that intersected their lives. Consider how their strategies, mindsets, and habits equipped and empowered them to grow, even thrive, despite the challenges they faced. Welcome to the Challenges Won't Stop Me podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Brown. I'm honored you've chosen to listen to this episode. I believe you will be encouraged and inspired to seek to grow through your challenges. Let's keep moving forward. I have been looking forward to today's interview with Honey Duncan. A quick little story about who she is. One of my college sorority sisters is her first cousin. And years ago, when I was looking at something that my sorority sister Shelly had posted, it took me over to a story about honey. And I immediately copied that information and have had it in my file for my podcast because I wanted this day to happen. And while you can't see her, she's sitting across from me because she was willing to drive to our house to be with me in person to do this interview. So I am excited to introduce you to Honey Duncan. Welcome, Honey.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, and one of the things that I learned about you before we hit record is that your spiritual gift is how much you love to spread kindness.
Yes.
In this world, girl, we need that.
It's always been easy for me to be kind to those around me because I am able to recognize that everyone has a different story that they're struggling with, whether I know them or not, I know of their story or not. I know personally I've been through the ringer and I needed kindness at a lot of different points in my life. And it got me here where I am, to be able to sit here today. And as you will see, there was a chance that I could have not been here today. And so I'm grateful for kindness and I'm happy to put it back into the world for everyone else.
That is truly a gift. Many times people that are going through difficult challenges can be in their own head and in their own circumstances and not even realize that they're being unkind.
Yes.
And they do need extra love and extra kindness. So I think the idea that you love spreading kindness is absolutely wonderful. Let's jump into your story. As you said, there are lots of twists and turns.
Yes.
Where would you say that it began?
I was born and raised in Carrollton, Georgia, to Richard and Bunny Duncan, who were wonderful parents. They kept us in church. They kept us in sports. They kept us in group sports to make sure that we know how to interact with others. And I mean, the American dream of a childhood, the version I am of myself today does have a lot of dark past to it. There was some traumas in my childhood that kind of grew some shame and fear and guilt inside of me. And that led to some mental health diagnosis. And I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD in junior high and then anxiety and depression in college. And then later on, borderline personality disorder and PTSD. So there has been a lot of darkness that has developed in my life. I tried medication. I tried some therapy. I was ultimately led to some unhealthy coping mechanisms. And I grew up a Christian. I didn't necessarily, I just accepted that Jesus died on the cross as our sins. I didn't feel any need to pursue Christianity. Like, I was a Christian, but I wasn't actively in my spirituality. There was some sexual trauma as early as 7 years old in my life. I didn't know how to handle that as a 7-year-old.
I cannot even imagine.
It just kind of kept going, and I ended up into an abusive relationship in my 20s. I mean, I honestly felt like I wasn't worthy. That was a big thing that I struggled with for a long time in my life, of trying to earn love from my family when they weren't asking me to earn their love, but I felt the need to earn it. I felt the need to earn my love of friends and coworkers and boyfriends and God. And I just knew that I was never going to be able to, because you can't.
You can't. But the enemy obviously was putting that in your head.
100%.
And he doesn't just say it one time. Right. He says it hundreds or thousands of times. And after so many times of hearing it, you start believing it. Oh, definitely. Understandably.
Oh, yes, definitely. And so at that point, I kind of gave up. I don't know. When I say at that point, I don't know what at point in my life I kind of gave up on being worthy. But I was like, if I'm never going to be good enough, I might as well be bad. And I didn't have many healthy coping mechanisms at all in my life. We'll fast forward to the addiction part, because I think that was the breaking point in my life. Even though I'd struggle with all kinds of stuff, the addiction was the capstone of everything. Another thing that I struggled with through my life was physical pain. I have diagnosed degenerative disc disease, a bulging disc in my back. So I struggle with pain on a daily basis, physically and emotionally, based off of everything that I'd gone through. So when I was in college, I was dating this guy. I was complaining about how bad my back hurt, and he handed me a pill. And he said, this'll make it better.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So I innocently took this painkiller, and about 30 minutes in, I vividly remember thinking I was numb, laying on the bed and feeling this is exactly how I want to feel the rest of my life.
Like nothing, feeling nothing.
Yes. Even to this day, I have very big emotions. I feel joy to an infinite level. I feel sadness and grief and all these things to an extreme. I have a hard time taming my emotions. With the physical pain, it also numbed these emotional pains, and I didn't have to feel so much. It was just nice to have that reprieve, to have that inhale, exhale with no burden. That's what kind of slowly led me on that. And I didn't start all together, like all at once, just hard in addiction for painkillers, but it was a gradual level of about 3 to 5 years. So we'll say that I was about 23, 24 with a new boyfriend who's also addicted to painkillers, and I go hard into it. I'm doing them every day. It's unmanageable. It's at this point, like it is controlling my life. It like, there's no just like, oh, I may take one next weekend, may not. It is a need for it, an imbalance in my brain, a chemical change saying I need it like I need breath.
I guess I'm wondering, did it actually help you numb the physical pain, but then you're like, well, this is amazing because then I don't think about all these emotions. Again, the enemy is pulling you in, telling you, hey, I got the solution for all your problems.
Yes, exactly. I was aware, though. I can remember the point that I knew I was in too deep, because it did. It takes away all of these physical pains. It makes you not care about your financial problems, your work problems, your relationship problems. You kind of just let go of caring, which is not, I mean, as you introduced me, like my special gift is kindness, and you can't be kind if you don't care.
Yeah. If your emotions are big, whatever the case is, whatever you're feeling, then to take that away, it would assume to me that then it would just like completely numb you as a person. You'd be almost flat.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't care how I was hurting my family. I didn't care that I was 2 months behind on my car payment. I didn't care that I was losing all of the meaningful relationships I've built since I was in grade school. It didn't matter that I was losing all of that stuff, because all I needed was that pill.
Yes.
I could see the change happening. It wasn't like it was stolen from me in front of my eyes. I could see that I was pulling away and isolating. I could see that I was craving it. Oh my gosh, the physical cravings. The obsession in your brain is unlike anything else. Like, it is unmatched, especially when you're someone who I overthink every day of my life to this day. But now I know how to detangle it and separate it. But the way that my brain was programmed to think about my next high, how am I going to get it? How am I going to afford it? When am I going to get it? When do I get to have this release again? It's awful. It is a prison like nothing else. I didn't drink in college. I mean, I was in a sorority, so the age old sorority girls are party girls, and I never really cared to drink. I was usually the designated driver, if anything else, because I wanted to go out and have a good time. I never appreciated how much you had to intake and how often you had to intake it to feel the minimal amount of like buzz and then the hangover the next day. Like, that doesn't sound like a good time to me.
Well, when you put it that way, I think you've thought through all of that.
Yeah. So with a pill, it's within 5 minutes that I would feel the relief, and it lasted hours, and there was no hangover the next day. It was quote unquote perfect, right? I mean, except there's no quick fix to life. There's no just running away from your pains. You have to confront them and overcome them.
Yes.
I didn't like that. I didn't want to do that. So that's what led me to the pills. Before I got to the heroin, I had realized that I was too far gone. I needed help. There was no way for me personally in my story to get clean without treatment. There's actually my favorite quote from Russell Brand is, drugs and alcohol are not my problem. Reality is my problem. Drugs and alcohol are the solution to my problem.
Wow.
That's what I needed to realize, is that the drugs were a symptom of the bigger issue.
Mm-hmm.
I had some deep wounds that I needed to heal, that I needed to surrender to God and let him wash me of my sins and cleanse me and make me whole again. And I didn't want to surrender. I wanted to do it my way. Until that moment, I remember going to my parents at their house. I was so nervous to tell them that I needed help, that I needed to give in.
Yes, that would be extremely difficult.
Yes, especially as someone that has anxiety already. Like, this is a very big thing, and I know my life is about to take a hard turn. The moment that I say it out loud to people who love me, who will absolutely go to the ends of the earth to help me, there was no going back. So I was at my most desperate moment to be able to go to them.
Do you suspect that they knew what was going on?
I don't think that they knew it was drugs. Like I said, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety in high school. And so I always was kind of moody and just, it's so gross. But I was just like this victim of everything that would get, like, to small things too. Like, obviously, yes, I did have some big traumatic things happen. I went to my parents at about 25, 26 years old. I remember my mom was in the computer room on her computer. She's a teacher. So she's putting in her grades or, doing what Bunny Duncan does. And my dad was in their bedroom watching a movie. I went to my mom and said, "Hey, can I talk to you in the living room? I'm going to go get dad." And she's like, "Yes." Because a parent is probably a little suspicious.
Of course.
If their grown child, too, comes to them and says that. So then I go get dad. And he's like, "Yeah, baby, sure. I'll meet you in there." I sat them down. There is a knot in my throat. There is breathlessness in my chest. My palms are sweaty. I am hot in the face. And I don't know how to just gracefully walk into this conversation. So I kind of blurted out and I said, "I'm in a lot of trouble personally. I have been struggling with taking drugs, hard drugs, and I don't know how to stop. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be here if I don't."
As a parent, that would be really hard words to hear.
Yeah.
But as a parent, in addition to that, I would feel such compassion. Yeah.
The fact that I was able to get out of how dark my life was is incomprehensible. It shouldn't have happened.
But God.
But God.
But God gave you the parents that he gave you.
And the opportunities to go to the different rehabs that I went to and to meet the people that I did, to be able to grow my story and be stronger and glorify him. There are just so many components that happened all at the perfect timing, all at God's perfect timing to get me to this chair today.
So tell me the response of your parents.
Yes. There was this pregnant pause between my words and their response. And I don't even remember how long it was. It felt like minutes. It felt like 1,000 seconds went by, but I'm starting to cry. They're crying and they take me into their arms. And I remember they're both hugging me. And then I remember my dad pulling me back with his hands on my shoulders and said, I don't care what it takes. We're going to get through this. We're going to help you. We're going to find the best place for you to go to for you. And we're going to beat this. The sheer relief that I felt, like I don't have to have this problem anymore, that like I know that it's going to be hard work going forward to get through it, but knowing that there's somebody else out there that's going to help me, that it's not, the burden is not all the way on me. It was just so powerful.
It reminds me of the verses where it talks about putting light on the darkness.
Yes.
And how that takes away so much of the darkness's power.
Right.
Because it's being exposed to light.
Yes, exactly. It's that is just so true in such a profound way, because here the devil is telling me that I am not worthy, that I don't deserve to be here. I am a burden on my family, that their lives would be better off if I just did not exist anymore. Sure, they would be sad for a little bit, but how much easier life would be if I was not here. And then I go to the same people that I think that I'm just this massive burden on, and they're saying, let us carry this load for you. It's too heavy. We can help.
Yes.
And
that's beautiful. There's a beautiful picture of what God does for us.
Yes, 100%. Definitely. Go back a second. I had already overdosed once from getting a pressed pill, which if you're not familiar, that is where they take fentanyl and press it into the same shape of the pill that I was taking.
Wow.
And I had overdosed within like 3 seconds of crushing up this pill and snorting it. My heart was gone. I mean, my heart had stopped. My lips were blue. Fingers were blue. The boyfriend at the time was doing CPR on me. I came to when I was being taken out on the gurney to the ambulance. So it was anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes that my heart had stopped.
Unbelievable.
That had already happened to me, but that was not my rock bottom. And if you're not familiar, rock bottom in the recovery world is different for every single person. And I mean, in life, it can translate to life too. It's not just the recovery world. What is it that you went through that made you say, enough is enough? I surrender. I give my life up. And this is all you, God. This is everything is for you. And I don't want to struggle with this anymore.
So that obviously happened prior to you going to your parents.
Yes. That was the first one. And I mean, I woke up the next day. I got out of the hospital, woke up the next day and went back to the same dealer to buy more pills. Like, that's the insanity of addiction. No sane person would do that. I went to a treatment center that my parents helped me find. My insurance covered it. I got my short-term disability through the position that I was working at, lying to them, not saying it was addiction, saying that it was suicidal ideation, which, I mean, go hand to hand. But I still at this point didn't want anyone to know other than the people I controlled knowing.
Very interesting word that you just chose.
Yes. I wanted to have control over this situation. And I really thought at this time, that I could just go get clean or get detox off of these drugs and then be okay. Everything's fine.
Just come back and
go back to life. Be normal. Little did I know. I was there for 6 days, a detox facility. Withdrawals are done. I'm cured. I'm all better. Let's get back to life. Relapsed after 2 days being out. Hid that for a couple of weeks, convinced my parents to let me stay out because they had noticed that like money was missing from my accounts because they at this point now have access to my bank account. Rightfully so. Like they needed all accountability to know that I was okay. Had stayed out until after my 26th birthday. Then I went back to the treatment. So it was like a 28-day program. I stayed clean for about 90 days. The way this demon of addiction chases you down and hunts you down until you submit.
What a visual picture I have with what you're saying.
At that moment, I thought that I was trying my very best. What I didn't know is I need a higher level of help. I couldn't do it. So this is 90 days is where I decided to start shooting heroin. What a lot of people don't know is that when you get clean and then you relapse, you hit the ground running. Wherever you left off, you hit it running harder. You don't start back at just taking a pill or, every now and then. So I started taking and then I started snorting. And then now I am shooting heroin. I was shooting heroin for about 3 weeks and my heart stopped 3 times in those 3 weeks.
Wow.
The last time that I came to, there was a EMT that knew me from high school.
That alone would be challenging.
In a place that I'm not from and he's not from. I'm in a McDonald's parking lot and I come to, I remember just crying my eyes out saying, why didn't you just let me die? Why did you have to save me? And because I'm just tired of the cycle. I think at this moment, I can't break this cycle.
Understandably so, in the logical thinking that you've done rehab a couple of times.
Yeah.
And you thought that you were cured.
Yeah.
But then you get pulled back into it.
Yeah.
I can see how the enemy would just have a heyday with that.
Yeah. The last time that I relapsed was Christmas Eve of 2016. And then I was arrested January 17th of 2017. I know that I am not living up to the potential that I had, not the expectation of my family. I knew that I was made for more and I was not doing more. There's not a lot to do in jail. I was in there for 19 days. You can read, you can play cards, you can walk a circle 1,000,000 times, or you can pray. I did a lot of praying, more praying than I had done in the entirety of my life. I wasn't sleeping. You don't get a pillow in jail. So much that was stripped from me that all I had was God.
That's sometimes what it takes.
Yes.
Is being stripped of everything.
We had a Bible study while we were in there, and the girl who was leading it was talking about how God can't take our problems away. We have to give them to him. It is our free will to surrender them to him. Something about that just changed my mindset in such a powerful way in that moment. It wasn't a slow process. It was like, that makes total sense. I can't just keep begging God as a victim of this world to say, God, take away this pain, take away these emotions, take away all this stuff. I have to surrender it to him. There is something so powerful about being able to feel in control when you surrender. My life was so out of control when I was trying so hard to grasp at control.
And then you freely give it to God, who is really the only one who has any control over anything in this world.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Jail was my rock bottom, not any of the 4 times that I overdosed. Seeing other people live that way and being okay with it and saying, as soon as I get out of here, I know where my stash is. I'm going to keep going back to this. I knew I didn't want to be that way. And I had a lot of time to think about it. I had a lot of time to build a plan and to say, I know that I need more help than what I was receiving earlier. I was stuck in the suck. It was something that I was drawn to. I was just this victim to all of my surroundings. And I realized that the only way that I could gain control over my life is surrendering. I knew that it was going to be a treacherous, long road, but I also knew that our Father, his grace does not falter. His love does not falter. That if I just stayed close to him, that wherever this journey was leading me, if I felt peace and comfort in his presence where I was, then I knew that I was on the right track, because I never felt peace or comfort in my addiction. I felt numbness, and that's not how we need to be.
Peace and comfort are who he is.
Exactly. before jail, I was willfully homeless because I didn't want them to see my problems and ask questions and care about me. How dare they? I was living out of my car. I did not have a job. I was negative $600 in my bank account. I had no insurance. And thank God all of that was as it was, because I was able to get into a homeless at-risk rehab center for 6 months. There was a long-term residential program for low-income and homeless women. And if I didn't have all of those things, it would have been tens of thousands of dollars for me to be in treatment for 6 months. All of these things, all of these bad components in my life led me to the place that helped me get and stay clean.
God promises us that.
Yeah.
All the things.
Yes.
Both good things and bad things, he will work together for our good.
Yes. And whatever the devil steals.
It sounds almost like a platitude, but when it happens in your life, the reality of it brings you to your knees.
Yes, exactly. I went to this facility. They were tough on me, which I was not used to that. I was used to people enabling me because they loved me and they didn't know how to do that. You know, like it's...
And you're so sweet.
Well, thank you. So 6 months, 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, I was in therapy. I was holding on to, at this point, decades of resentment and anger and hatred that I didn't know that was boiling under my skin. I didn't know that all those big feelings I was feeling was because I was not justified, or there was not justice for the actions that were taken against me. But what I learned in that treatment center is forgiving myself, even not for their benefit, but the people who hurt me, forgiving them so I am not holding on to that anymore.
Because it's destroying you.
Yes. Yeah. The only person that my anger is hurting is myself. To be able to learn to forgive my body, to forgive my brain for holding on, to forgive my words, to forgive those around me. And it was just a complete cleansing of all of the lies the devil had told me. And to be able to rewire my brain to understand that I am worthy. That I am loved, I am enough just as I am, as I show up today. Changing my mindset has been my greatest strength, and understanding the problems that I have in this world are not of people. That's where my kindness comes in. That's where my favorite Bible verse comes in. It's Ephesians 6:12 from the NLT version. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of that unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. The whole armor of God has changed me completely. I know I'm not lost in this battle.
No, because God fights for us. He tells us that over and over and over in his word. When we seek him, then he's fighting for us. And it changes your mindset completely.
Yes. There's a lot of times where I just thought that I was this victim of the world. I was not an overcomer. I was just going to be another statistic of addiction. And now I am here.
Yes.
And I'm stronger than ever. And being able to call a name of our Satan and our devil, like being able to say that you are not welcome here, and not being afraid of it, and knowing that our God is so big that the devil is about the size of a dime. Like he is nothing compared to our God.
Yes. And I see the fruit of that change.
Yes.
In you, and the confidence that you have is not of your own.
Right.
It comes from God.
100%.
We are publishing this on your 7th anniversary of
being clean from opiates and benzos. The heroin, the Xanax, those were all my big problems. Needles, self-harm. I have been clean from all of that.
Praise God.
Amen.
Amazing what he can do when we surrender what we have as we want to be in control, and we surrender and say, God, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. And it doesn't have to be drugs. It doesn't have to be any of the circumstances that you've been in. It could be any number of things. What would you say shines above anything else about God?
Unwavering grace.
Tell me about that.
I think that that's such a big big thing for me because I did not give myself any grace for a very long time. I was unworthy. God was always there, waiting for me to run to him, waiting for me to kneel at his feet and just cover him in my love. You know, he never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And because he gave his only son to die on the cross for my sins, like that is astonishing.
It is astonishing to think that he does that for each and every one of us.
Yes. I was this big bag problem in my own life, holding myself back and allowing the devil to lie to me. Like I was so weak in my faith. I didn't know how much God loved me.
I feel like when we've gone through challenges, yes, those are the hard times, but that's really not the focus. The focus is where we intersected hard into God. He, as you said, he just accepted you. And then he said, I got you. We're going to walk through this together. What a beautiful story.
All to him. All glory to him.
Honey, so it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Melanie.